Hey everyone, Pauley here from HardDrive Radio. I'm sitting down in the studio today with Phil, Aaron, and Tino from Of Mice and Men. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to see us today.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Hello.
Brand new album, Earth and Sky, is out right now. It's freaking killer, man. Like, it's so good. It's so heavy. It's so delicious. I'm so excited about it.
Dude, thank you.
How are you guys feeling about it now that it's out?
Very, very excited. We've been sitting on it for a long time, so it's finally nice that it's out.
You know, it's funny because I'm thinking about, like, oh, when did Defy come out? Because it feels like it was only January 2018 that Defy came out. So I'm wondering, you know, like, was there like a really quick turnaround? Were you guys just feeling really creative? You wanted to jump back in the studio right away? How did it start?
We literally just found ourselves with a lot of the summer free, and we talked to our label, and we were like, can we get in the studio? And they're like, can you? And we're like, yeah. And so we just went in the studio. We started working on it. We recorded about half the record. Went out, played a bunch of gigs, a bunch of festivals over the summer, then came back and then finished the record. So we've been sitting on it for a minute.
Yeah. Nice. Were there any kind of like leftover ideas that weren't fleshed out from the Defy era, or were you guys going in with a completely clean slate?
It was mostly completely clean.
Yeah, mostly new songs for sure. Maybe one song got tapped into, but I don't even know if we came out with it.
There is a song that stems from an idea that predates Defy. I think it was around Restoring Force time, actually, but it was just kind of a fun riff that we were kind of playing with.
Do you remember which song that turned into?
Meltdown.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Cool, sweet. So, you know, for this one, how long did you guys spend, you know, in the writing sessions, and, you know, was it recorded? I think you said you recorded in 2 halves. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, it was kind of like we went in between some touring cycles that we had planned. And it was kind of cool because it kind of allowed us to like whittle away at the album as a whole, and kind of always like look at snapshots of it, because we'd record, then we'd leave, then we'd come back, and we'd record more, and we'd like some of the songs more than others. And then I think that was a big way of us to kind of really like make an album that we really felt like every song was really strong, because we were able to like focus on each one.
Really take our time
hone
with
in
each song. For
sure. So
yeah, as I said at the beginning of the interview, the album is really heavy, and that's not like, you know, a strange thing for you guys. You guys have always been a heavy band, but I feel like particularly this one has been heavier than the couple of the last ones you put out. Did you set out to just like make the most brutal album you could, or did it just kind of end up that way?
No, I think the plan was, and I think we still accomplished it in a way, is we really wanted to just take the energy about like what our band really excels at, which for us is our live show, and figure out how to write songs that kind of can reflect that energy, and then also work with a producer like Josh Wilbur who's able to capture that energy. And so I think that just inevitably, I think because of what our band is and who we are as individuals and who we are when we come together and make music, it's going to be heavy.
absolutely.
Tell me about working with Josh, because he's worked on some great records. Like, he just did the Mark Morton solo album. I know he's mixed, you know, some records for Korn. Like, how was it working with him, and why did you know that he was the guy to go to for this?
Man, it was great.
Yeah, it was more like it started out as like a local thing. We were looking, we only had like certain chunks of time available in between tours, and we were like, well, who's local that we could get in a studio around here and start recording, and his name came up, and we were like, oh, that would be awesome. Like, if we could get in the studio, man, we'd make probably a pretty heavy record if we had a producer that really knows heavy music. And we kind of like, we went with him and started working with him, and we figured, you know, if we get some songs done, like, we'll see how things go. And we just really connected. He likes good heavy music, and he helps kind of like man the ship of a lot of really, really great metal and groovy albums that kind of like are all stuff that we enjoy listening to as well. So we definitely really like respected his opinion on stuff. But we also saw eye to eye on most things, which was a really fun thing, that like it wasn't like pulling teeth. I think everybody had a fun time making the record and just kind of like getting nerding out with it and just making some really heavy stuff.
I mean, you know, some producers, they'll, you know, the job is to tell the musicians when stuff ain't great, you know?
Sure.
Were there a lot of times where you kind of had to push you guys to do better, or was it just kind of easy going?
He wanted a lot of songs to be faster.
Yeah. He kept being like, pump this one up.
Faster. And like, we had some songs like, you know, Tina was saying, that were kind of groovy, but still have, you know, the melodic heaviness to it. And we put them faster. It lost the groove, you know, lost the vibe of that, like organic heaviness of the just how the song grooved, and we put them forward, put them back. We found the groove, and some of them we did speed up, we did listen to, but yeah. Do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I just remember him being like faster,
All the time.
faster,
Yeah.
faster.
At one point, he's like circle pitting in the room too. Like, there we go. I like this speed.
And I'm just thinking, how the hell are we ever going to play this? Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the second thing
Yeah.
too. Yeah, man.
But yeah, super fun process.
I want to actually talk about some of the songs on the album, and let's start with the title track, Earth and Sky. Can you guys kind of tell me how that one got started? Did it start with a lyric? Did it start with a riff?
It started with that first riff, and it took a bunch of different forms, actually. I think that song was worked and reworked and deconstructed and reconstructed several
Yeah, it was
times.
one of those songs that went through the ringer full time. The different type signatures and all that stuff in the song take a different way, and then we kind of just like went with it, and then it just kind of went organically with all the different time stuff. Like, could we do that? Could we still do that? Because we did it like on the first album, stuff like that. But different producers we'd work with, same thing, same time measure throughout the whole song. So it felt good to break that boundary again. And it's a really fun song to play.
When you guys are writing, riffs like that, is it like you and Aaron and Alan all sitting around together, just kind of jamming out, or how does it work?
Sometimes not. It all just kind of depends. We stockpile stuff because we just create stuff all the time. So it all just kind of depends.
Yeah, shout out to Dropbox for
Yeah.
holding all of our crazy, wacky song ideas that are just, it can start anywhere, like whether it's in the room or it's just an idea that's on somebody's voice note or something. Like for the Earth and Sky in particular, when I forgot that it did take a couple iterations, and it was like a dun 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 dun, and it was like way slower, way different, and now it's like dun 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 dun, like it totally took a different turn. And that's kind of the beauty of like working on songs in the studio, and there's no like egos in the room either, like, so it's just like whatever sounds good and whatever makes everybody go, that's the one. And usually
Unanimous
any good
decision.
time everybody is in agreement, like that's the part, that's how it has to be. And Josh really helped with that too, kind of helped me, like, not that we kind of needed the deciding factor, but having somebody that like listens to other music and creates other music with other bands to be like, yeah, that's the one. And we're like, okay, cool, because that's how we feel, but we just didn't, we
weren't
wanted to
sure.
see. Yeah, so it was cool to have that.
And he would like genuinely get excited about stuff. So when you see somebody getting excited about it, when you feel excited, you're like, okay, all right, cool, we're all on the same page. And like, that's the thing, is the producer's like main gig, in my opinion, is to keep everybody on the same page.
When you guys are writing, is it always kind of a democracy kind of thing? Like everyone has to like it, or at least the majority of you guys have to like it, or does it have to be unanimous, like you said before, Phil?
Oh man, typically, yeah. If it's a knocking track or a banging track, it speaks for itself. Maybe some tweaks on things here and there, maybe make a riff a little bit better, or how could we make it better? But sometimes we usually just go back to the original, because typically, like, your gut instinct with what we go with, the first time, sometimes it's not the best, but typically, you go through the ringer of things and you go back to the first one, you're like, damn it, that was it.
So lyrically for Earth and Sky, what were you drawing from?
I like writing lyrics that have a lot of imagery, because for me, like, that's kind of what helps me like latch on to stories and stuff. Is just kind of something that's very like metaphoric, but also like image based. So I think the dichotomy of the earth and sky and how they relate to one another, I think in terms of using that as a metaphor for things that in your life you feel like are trying to bring you down, I think is a good way of framing things, because the earth is kind of small in the grand scheme of the universe, but at the same time it seems like everything when you're on it. So yeah, just kind of, I think that was maybe a tiny bit less cliche than fire and water, but but I think that's the reason why people have written songs about the earth and the sky for a long time, is because it's something that is clearly understood by most people.
And what was it about this song that was, kind of encompassed, like, this is the title track for the album? Where was the point where you guys were creating, you're like, this is what it's going to be?
When the record was done and we were like, what the hell do we call it?
What's the best title track
That's
that we
a
have?
cool song.
Yeah.
Let's call it that.
Just as hard as that, huh?
Yeah, I mean that sometimes what's funny is I feel like since at least Restoring Force, that's always been the thing is we finish the record and we're like, what do we call it now?
Yeah, like what's kind of the statement, you know, like what and the imagery of that kind of lends itself to something that we felt like was really cool and kind of makes you think, like, is it about the earth and sky or you know, whatever. And it was just something that I don't know, like it is kind of like an afterthought idea, but we felt like it was kind of like as we say, that's hard. Like we were like, Earth and Sky, the new album, that's hard. That's a good name. So that's like,
It's pretty hard.
yeah.
Speaking of the imagery, the artwork for the album itself, who was the artist? Who did you go to work with? Did you guys have an idea what you wanted it to look like?
We had the idea for like kind of the mandala looking cryptic symbol that kind of involved everything like from the videos and whatnot, but Tino can definitely expand on that because Tino was definitely the liaison between the artist and us.
Definitely. Shout out Mike Cortada, amazing artist and a visionary in his own right too, and so incredibly creative and stuff. And so we kind of started the way like the visual process kind of happens is while we're kind of in the studio, we kind of think like what do we see in our heads when we're creating this music, and some songs are easier to like have a vision for than others. And I think what we were trying to do was kind of have a vision for every song and then kind of like figure out a way to put it all together. And I think with the symbols and with all the different music videos and the incorporation of like the Earth and Sky initiative and like just all this random, like we kind of turned it into this fictional world that is encompassed in this album. And it's not necessarily like a concept album, but visually the concepts all relate to each other and they're all in that because we wanted there to be like a common thread. Then in the Taste of Regret video, you see the thread everywhere. And it's like, you know, there's something that ties everything together, whether it's scraps of whatever and this and that. And that's kind of how the album gets made. And it was cool because like we're all like old school music nerds that like love looking at packaging and buying albums and you know, sitting down and reading lyrics and, you know, really looking at what the band has created as a whole and like reading the thanks list and like just everything about an album is important. And so we really wanted to, with this album, kind of deliver something for that fan that wants something a little bit more, that wants more imagery, that wants to dive in, you know, and not just listen to it in their car and do this, like, you know, take a moment with the art and kind of enjoy it. And so with the help of our label also, Rise Records, you know, like it's just sick that we were able to do something as meaningful and artistically involved as Earth and Sky. And you could see that from the videos to the music to the T-shirts to the album art, you know, everything was calculated and thought about, and we hope everybody's been enjoying it for sure.
You know, I want to go a little more on the visuals too, just talking about, you know, some of the videos and stuff you guys put out, especially for like Mushroom Cloud and, you know, How to Survive. Just the visual unity of these things coming out, you know, was that all planned? Is that an idea that you guys had, or is it just something that happened and you just rolled with it?
No, I think, you know, the visual elements, we kind of started with the idea of a hidden hand, something kind of like a society where we can kind of create kind of like a shadow element that you see briefly in the first video, and it makes you go, I wonder what that's about. And then kind of every opportunity we got to make more videos, you know, we'd all kind of sit down and brainstorm different ideas of like, what would be cool? We fielded a bunch of like different treatments and stuff, and like, you know, we worked with Mark, and he just nailed it.
Yeah.
Every single video.
And it was kind of like an ongoing thing too, because as we were creating and rolling stuff out, we could kind of like tweak the storyline a little bit and tweak this like realm that we kind of were creating the visual accompaniment to the music, you know. And so that was a hugely collaborative process with everybody that we work with, from the artist Mark Cortada to Mark Lediard and J6 Productions and Zev Deans and you know, a ton of creative people kind of as we're fleshing this out and creating it, you know, they're helping facilitate these amazing music videos and these amazing visuals to kind of like help it all coincide, because we've never really done anything like that. And so why not? You know, like why not give something a little bit more than that's just like a performance video? Like you can watch that on YouTube. Probably every one of our performances is on YouTube at this point.
Yeah, for Earth and Sky, we're like, what if like we were in a spaceship that was like triangle shaped, and that makes sort of the new logo with the triangle? And Mark's like, how about this? It's like, whoa,
it's like,
he did it.
There's the logo. Wow, you know, and it was just a cool collaborative process to get to do that. And at this point in our career, you know, it's like it's so fun to get to like really dive in and create something that's just a little bit more involved than just going and making songs and then waiting for the artist to send you the art and you go, I like that one, send it to print. You know, like we just involved ourselves in every part of the process to kind of like make it that extra experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it shows, and I've always, you know, enjoyed the creative process of this band and stepping up the visuals for this. You know, visuals is something that I also enjoy, especially, you know, the detail that you put into album art to make it a wholesome experience, or, you know, the extra effort in videos. I've talked to bands that hate shooting music videos and they just do it because they have to.
Of course,
but
yeah.
you know, it shows. Like, and the fact that you guys have fun doing that, I think, makes a huge difference. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And little known fact, while we were shooting the Earth and Sky music video, when we're all in those cloaks and it looks all serious, we were all just making fart noises and like laughing.
So
our
hot
asses
too.
off.
It was
And it was so
miserably
hot.
hot.
And the video team was like, "Okay, can we get serious?" And we're like, "But they can't see. They can't see what we're doing. And you're not going to use the audio." So we like I said, we have fun and we enjoy doing it. So like it was kind of cool to then watch it and be like, damn, that looks like a movie. Remember when we were like just cracking jokes the whole time?
We were in those cloaks.
So not serious.
We were in those cloaks for like a half an hour.
Yeah,
For about 12 seconds worth of footage.
Yeah, it was funny.
Do you have like countdown, like everyone, all right, throw your heads back at the same time?
Well,
That's exactly what
yeah,
we did.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
And the funny part was like, okay, everyone take 3 steps, and like everyone's going in some different direction because we're cloaked and
Yeah, we
hooded,
didn't
so
see
we
where we
can't
were
see
going.
anything. So he's like, no, just move in the same direction. And we're like, and then we do it even worse the next time, and it's like, we're not actors, okay? We don't know what
struggle.
we're doing. We're musicians. Like, give us our instruments back.
We did good,
but that
though.
was
Okay,
kind of
we
the
did
challenging
good.
part. Is
I
like,
would say we did very good.
hell yeah,
great.
it
We
looks
did great.
sick.
I would agree. You guys did a very good job. I do want to talk more songs, but I did have to go off and talk about videos because I think they were really cool, and I think people need to know about how they're
Yeah,
made.
thanks.
Absolutely. Tell me about the song "A Taste of Regret" and how that one came to be.
I mean, lyrically, that song is kind of, you know, it's expounding on the time-old classic of "Keep Your Mouth Shut." You know, I think, and then you know, I think like going further, it's kind of, you know, maybe it's like a social commentary about, you know, in the social media age where everybody now has a platform and has a voice. I feel like now more than ever, people have like lost the idea of like nuance, like knowing when to actually use it and just knowing when to, you know, zip it.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, so you know, every now and again, it's fun to get a little like cheeky with it.
Sonically, how'd that song evolve?
You know, basically with a lot of our songs, starts with the riff always. It started with that opening riff, and you know, we expounded on the riff with like a little bit of a open riff with, you know, a little bit of the riff here, just kind of take pieces of it and with some chugging. So, you know, just a typical addition of adding in a song with the riffs, how a guitar player thinks about it. But yeah, it's the same thing, just Josh definitely probably helped push this one to be a little bit faster, obviously be a little bit more metal. And but yeah, once we started it, it's like a roller coaster. It just went. It was, you know, this is a crazy riffing fast song for us, and you know, got to show some of, you know, the cool. We were really happy of the riffing of this one. You know, felt like As I Lay Dying and Lamb of God were like, yeah, this kind of riffing, but our style. So it was a lot of fun doing
That assery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember I was like recording bass in the other studio, and then I remember when I was done that day, they had uploaded like the kind of like finished version of like the construction of it, and I just remember being like, yeah, boys, like it's a barn burner for sure.
You know, not to get too in the weeds technical, but, you know, were there any like new toys or like just like effects pedals or anything you guys got to use in this one?
We used a lot of the stuff we like typically use live. So we got to use, being in Orange County, we got to use a lot of our stuff from home. So Hughes and Kettner Tri-Amp Mark III was one of the main amps we used. We got one of Misha's inactive PVs, and that was one of the other ones used. Joe Satriani Triple X PV 90s head, which was Josh Wilbur's. He really likes that head. Typical Ibanez tube screamers, and other, Proto Tones, overdrive pedal, just some stuff here, just random stuff from home. For guitars, that was, that was pretty basically it, which was pretty nice. We got to keep our live tone and have that in our album too, which I love because it sounds like us live.
As it should.
Exactly.
Dino got to go full Steven Spielberg on Alan Parsons keyboard player's actual
rig
synth racks.
Yeah,
which was
on Earth and Sky.
incredible.
Those pianos and those synths were actually played, and they were like synths from like the 70s and 80s. And we were going through the presets, and I was just trying to find some crazy stuff. And I just go through presets and hear other songs. Like, that was the preset that they used for that song.
Like, that's the sound of ET.
Yeah,
that is
I'm
it
like,
right
that
there.
is the one.
You
That's-
just had to have the $5,000 keyboard.
Yeah, you just had to have like that big thing. And so it was cool to just kind of like play with stuff that was there. And shout out to Hybrid Studios too out in Orange County. Like, they're one of our favorite studios to be at because it's a beautiful studio run by an awesome staff that are always like ready to get something plugged in for you or get just anything. And it's cool in the studio because we get to like, it's like being a musician but on steroids because you're just around all this insane gear and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna sound so good, and you're just plugging stuff in. And Josh knows all the tricks in there too, so like we kind of like we went a little nuts in a lot of it, but at the same time we wanted to capture the live element, so we kept a lot of the structure and everything like really firmly based on the core instruments, then adding the tasties and the toppings and the little cherry on top on all of them.
For the drums, you're using your own kit?
Yep, I use DW drums, Zildjian cymbals, Evans drum heads, ProMark sticks, DW pedals. I built this monster kit with a ton of cymbals and
Oh my God,
a
monster
ton of toms. Like I got nasty with it, but because we were doing a metal album, like I wanted to have everything at my disposal. I don't tour with a kit that big, but
He wants to.
It's nearly that
Let's bring
big.
one extra
Oh
truck.
my
yeah, it sure was fun, and Josh and I had a blast doing the drum tracking, and it was cool, like what you hear on the record, that's all like raw drums, like that's what the drums sound like, and he really captures that really well, and yeah, it was cool.
Brilliant engineer.
Yep.
A couple more songs, some of my favorites on the album I want to ask about, and Pieces is one of those songs. I freaking love it. It's such a great, like, I definitely want to play it for our audience on the radio. Can you tell me about how that one came to be?
It's funny because everyone's like, I really like this song. To me, the chorus still bugs me because I remember it. I was like, if the last two chords were the first two chords, melodically and key structure wise, it would make more sense. It wouldn't feel like a key change going into it. But that song was just, it kind of just evolved. It's one that evolves from the riff with just a big chorus that goes into a very, very big kind of progressive, what I always call like the hill climb bridge with the guitar solo. That's funny.
I love that song.
Yeah?
I enjoy it, and for the reason
I like it. I like
enjoy
it.
it for
I
the
like it.
reason
Love
that
the
AP hates it, because I think that key change or whatever that just knocks you in the face. Like,
That's what it is.
I don't even know what
That's
it's
what it
called.
is.
I was like, this sounds
it-
bomb to me. you know?
I was
can't even
totally
break it
like, when I
down.
first heard that, I was like,
It's fire.
I was like, that is hot.
No,
That
and
sounds
that's
so
what
good.
it is. It is a very distinct sort of
Yeah.
sound that I was like, I liked it the way it was before. But see, that's what making albums is all about. Is it's like we always remember kind of how things were, how things go, how things kind of evolve. But no, I do like that song.
That might have been one of the songs, where four people would have been like, yeah, AP's like, I still, he's
I'm
like,
I
to
just
the
wish
day.
it was like
Nah,
this.
still to the day.
Like,
But,
are
no,
there-
but still.
Yeah,
but-
it's still a bomb song.
Are there
Very
points
bomb
where
song.
you just have to like drag him away and just like, all right, this song's done. You can't touch it anymore. You can't tweak it.
Yeah, Josh
Everybody,
does it to me all the time.
we all want to keep touching it. You know what I mean?
We all just are like,
So that's Josh's job, is to tell
Yeah,
you guys
well,
to
I
not.
just
mean,
want to
we wanna
stop, yeah.
finagle everything
And then
and,
he
like-
wants to do more too.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
it's almost like it's like never done, you know. But until they say it's done, you know, until we turn it in. So like Josh kind of that's why we hire him. You know, that's why we're not doing these records by ourselves, or else stuff would get cut, and then we'd be like, dang it, you know. Like he's the guy that helps us with like the decision, and he's like, yeah, I think that's powerful or not, or fits or it doesn't or whatever, and then that kind of helps us be okay with, you know, whatever decision, and that's kind of the beauty, and it's also that's like it's teamwork, you know, like it makes a team to make everything happen, and not everyone on the team is like gonna be down with the play or whatever, but if it causes at the end of the goal or you get the goal at the end of the play, then
Can't hate on it.
yeah, you
oh,
can't.
absolutely no.
He's not hating though. He's not hating.
No.
He's not hating.
No, it's
He's
the
not
fact
hating.
the fact that so many people will say that that's one of their favorite songs is proof that that was the right call to make.
Right.
Which I will take full humility in saying I wanted it differently, which would have been the wrong call. But that's honesty.
It could be right though. We never heard it. I don't remember if we actually did.
Well, this
We
leads
did
me
it
to my
once,
next question.
and then it was one of those that was quickly reverted. I was like, wait.
Yeah,
wait,
it's probably one of those ones we shouldn't have even done it the first time.
wait.
So once once a song is done and it's it's recorded, it's on the album. Do you guys ever like mess with it anymore, or is that it? It's set in stone.
That's where you throw the live tasties in.
Yeah.
That's where they
Yeah.
evolve is on the stage for sure.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of evolution of the sound for like the live show, and maybe little things here and there, and just kind of like we like the human aspect of being on stage, and we're not robots, and it's never played necessarily the same exact way twice, you know, because it's the live, it's the moment, you're in that, like there is that element of wanting to kind of like embellish on little things here and there and have little tasties or whatever, and then listen to the album and enjoy it.
Well, let's do this then. Of the new songs that are on this album that you guys have gotten to play live so far, what is your favorite song to play live?
Mine's the opener, Grave Dancer, just so heavy.
So
we
heavy.
play it first too, and it sets the vibe. At first, I've said a couple times to the guys when we first played it without the album being out, no one's heard it. It's like when they first hear the instrumentation coming off right off the bat, they're like, "What is this? What am I getting myself into?" And then it just gets pummeling. Exactly. So at first, the first couple days of the tour, they didn't know the song. I was like, they better be prepared for what's about to hit them. And, they eventually did. But then the album came out and people started listening to it more. They anticipated the, demolishing that's about to happen. And it's been happening. And that's why it's my favorite song. It sets the tone for the whole set. And it's fun to play. It's fast, in your face. So
Same, for sure.
How about yours,
I really like that song. I like playing Earth and Sky. I really like Mushroom Cloud too. And then for this set, How to Survive, I'm usually pretty exhausted. But I really like playing that song too. It's I think because, I keep going back to it, but like I think because the MO was to create an album that really encapsulates like what we do live, I think playing all the songs live, they translate so well and they're just all so much fun to play. It's hard to pick a favorite.
How many of the new songs have made it into the set list now?
So far 4.
yeah, so the 4 they were released.
Yeah.
A third of the records on there.
Tino, how about you? Do you have a favorite to play live?
Yeah, I really enjoy Grave Dancer. That song, as Phil was saying, it sets the tone. It sets the tone of the album too. You hear this instrument, and then all of a sudden, it just your teeth get knocked in by heaviness, and it's like that was the point of this album, was to kick down the door, like, what's up? Like, what were you saying? Like, what you?
We
just
were
say
here on the other
to me?
side of the door now.
Yeah,
What's up?
So it's an awesome statement song, and live it's been going over so good because it's just that first riff is just and I see people get ready, and then it allows it to build up into the faster where everyone just
That is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
When it kicks in at
It's
the end, the
just
second
ripping.
time it's psycho by that point, because then they heard it once. They're like, the second time I heard it, I got to even go crazier. So it's pretty good.
So you guys are on the road right now. I think you're about halfway through your headlining tour.
Yep.
Now that the album is out, you're playing to your fans. I'm sure they're eating it up. Like, what is that the feedback that you're getting back? People going crazy? Are they singing the songs back to you? Is it a good response?
The energy's been wild. Like it's been wild in a way that's like it's not been that wild for many moons, as they say.
Yeah, really refreshing, and it's awesome because it's new material. You know, Mice and Men's been a band now for 10 years. We're on our 6th album. We just wrote an album that is resonating with our audience more so and more unanimously than I think any album that we've ever put out. You know, and it's hugely encouraging to us who are constantly being inspired by our fans and our life experiences and tours and other musicians and other bands, and like we're just inspired by everything. So to be 10 years deep and making this album and it resonating with so many people and all the comments and fans coming up to us and saying it's our best work to date. And, I can't lie, like that feels so good. But at the same time, we didn't set out to do that. We just wanted to make an honest, this is what Of Mice and Men is in 2019 and 2020. And we've been in band for 10 years and we're still here. We're still making heavy music. We're faithful to this genre because this genre is our favorite. We love metal, we love heavy music. It's something that we want to continue sharing for, decades upon decades. So that's kind of like the whole MO of all that for sure.
Well, I mean, it's rare that I can just throw on an album for the first time and it knocks me on my ass the way Earth and Sky did.
Sick.
It's already hands down one of my favorite albums of 2019.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
thank
so
you
much.
for spinning it too. And,
Hell yeah, man.
And everyone, thank you for listening too. It's so cool. And thank you so much for requesting it so much because I know you're going to request it a lot. So thank you. And it's so sick. Thank you.
Tino, Aaron, Phil of Mice and Men, guys, thank you so much for coming in today. This was a blast.
Thanks for having us.
No
guys.
problem.